Hey there, everyone. I'm Samuel Johnson, and welcome back to the Phantom Perspectives. And this isn't my chair. Yeah. Short version. If you're wondering, if you actually are wondering about this chair, one of the customers that my mother cleans for, was wanted to get rid of a couple chairs, so she gave one to me and my mom. So she gave one to me and my mom, while another went to a friend of ours. I asked. So my mom asked if I wanted to keep it in my room. I did. Yeah, got a new comfy chair. It's rather nice. Leans back. It's rather nice to sit in. Yeah, okay, short version there. Just new chair. All my crap's still here, but new chair. Even has a cup holder right here. Probably don't see it because it's right out of the camera, but it's there. But yeah. Anyway, you don't want to hear about that. Today we're going to discuss episode 42 of Danny Phantom, Torrent of Terra. And for such a cool name for the episode, this is kind of a dumb one as well. This is an episode that introduced a new villain. This is a ghost called Vortex. Essentially a ghost that can control the weather in any way, shape, or form. Unfortunately, however, he's ultimately been captured by the Observance from the Ultimate Enemy episode, except sorry, breakfast is coming up. Anyway, apparently the Observants are putting him on for are holding a trial for him, even though the Observants' only job was to observe. They're kind of like the Danny Fan version of the Watchers. But just and to keep his weather powers in check, they have a thermometer over him that when when activated, pretty much can limit his powers and control him. So he isn't going anywhere. But one of the guards, it turns out, is Vlad in disguise, and he proceeds to destroy the Observance base and freeze Vortex. However, Vortex doesn't want to listen to him, so Vlad grabs the thermometer and uses that as a means of controlling him. And his big plan for why he wants to control Vortex, you think it'd be like for world domination or some game or for some aim at ultimate power? He just wants to improve his polls. As he has Vortex make a smoldering hot day in Amity Park, and then he has him make it rain by making it look like Vlad was responsible by having the thermometer be a device that controls the weather. Blah blah blah. Essentially, but of course, Vlad gets arrogant, and Vlad says that he's going to need Vortex to stop the rain, which of course Vortex doesn't want to do because, well, while he may not like working for Vlad, this is his art, so whatever. As such, Vlad tries using the thermometer again to control him, but the excess power from Vortex causes the thing to be destroyed, and as such, Vortex is now free to do whatever the hell he wants, and in retaliation for Vlad controlling him, he's going to try and unleash a giant torrent, or pretty much, it looks like not a cyclone, a hurricane over Amity Park. As such, everyone's houses are being destroyed. Everyone's boarding up. Vlad's, of course, getting the blame because he's the one that created the so-called weather machine, which was the thermometer. And so Vlad decides that Vlad realizes he needs help, so he goes to Danny, saying that I need your help to take it down. So he explains it to them, and both of them go to fight Vortex. And I was thinking that this was going to be like in Rainstorm, where Danny and Vlad had to team up against a bigger threat. But it turns out that Vlad just wanted to get Danny there so that he could fight Vortex while Vlad ran away because reasons, I don't know. And of course, Vortex knows about Danny. He's heard about him, so they get into a fight, and it's a pretty one-sided battle. As while Danny is able to put up a good fight, is able to try and keep up with Vortex. Unfortunately, Vortex is just too powerful. His powers are just too strong. No matter what he throws at Danny can try and outmaneuver as much as he wants, but Vortex is still able to continually beat him. And of course, during the battle, Vortex tries blasting Danny with lightning, which Danny tries blocking with his ghost shield, but it only does so much, and even then, Vortex still is able to get a blast of lightning on him and causing him to throw into a building, causing the whole building to crumble. Vortex then takes his opportunity to retreat to spread his weather across the world, but strangely enough, upon leaving, the bad weather around Amity Park ends. And so when everyone goes to check on the rubble where Danny landed, he emerges now in his human form, and it looked like, I guess it was an antique thrift store or something. I don't know. I don't remember. because Danny comes out looking ridiculous, and so everyone laughs at him, even though he was a boy in rubble. I would probably be, it doesn't matter what, that's just like a dick move in every regard. But this ends up getting Danny mad, and suddenly he starts glowing red, and the weather starts changing. On top of that, when Vlad comes in to try and take credit for the win, Danny gets angry at him because this was his fault in the first place, and suddenly the weather starts being focused on Vlad, causing a tornado to appear and chase after him. It's the group then realizes that Vortex, when they fought Danny, somehow some of his weather powers got transferred to Danny, but unfortunately, like with most of Danny's ghost powers, Danny can't control it. It's attached because it's now attached to his mood, and as long as he's in a good mood, the weather's fine. But whenever he's upset or sad or whatever, the weather will start going nuts. So they need to keep Danny calm, but on top of that, they need to stop Vortex. Well, at least Danny, Sam, and Tucker know they need to stop Vortex. I don't know. Vlad just wants to find a way to get rid of the weather powers from Danny, because every time he gets upset, he causes a typhoon or something. So he tells Sam and Tucker that they have to go out and find Vortex while he'll take care of Danny, which I guess if this was like season 1 or 2, I think it would be I think in season 1 or 2, Vlad would actually try to keep Danny in control there, and I feel like that maybe in season 1 or 2 he would probably want to keep Danny in check. Though something that would have happened in any of these seasons is that Danny relishes this fact that he has this power over Vlad. Vlad has to keep him completely happy and entertained, and if the smallest thing goes wrong, Vlad will and if he gets even a little bit upset, his weather powers act up and things just go haywire, and it's just kind of funny. And I admit that's a little funny. It leads to mostly some hijinks. But in the meantime, Sam and Tucker are able to find Vortex because they stole the jet, as they stole the Fenton Op Center that could turn into a jet. And unfortunately, they're not ghost hunters, and unfortunately, what the jet can do is not capable of stopping Vortex. But they realize that Amity Park is the one place in the world that Vortex's powers aren't reaching, as everywhere else in the world things are just going nuts. So they decide to play to Vortex's ego, saying everywhere else is crazy, but Amity Park is fine. Vortex that's angry at this because I guess maybe he thought the storm was going still. I'm guessing maybe the reason Amity Park's weather is fine is because of Danny. And so he goes to Amity Park with Sam and Tucker chasing after. Of course, the instant that Vortex shows up, Vlad throws Danny to him. Vlad metaphorically throws Danny to the wolves and tells Vortex to get rid of Danny's powers, but again, Vortex is still too powerful for Danny. So they do what they should have done, what I think they should have realized they were going to do in the first place. They need to use Danny's weather-controlling powers to their advantage. But unfortunately, they still have to find a way to tie them to their mood, and they do. But unfortunately, they're still tied to Danny's mood, so they need to find a way to get them to control. So they give Danny they put Danny a mood modification thing. I think it's something Tucker made. I didn't know he was like that big of a tech whiz, but apparently it's apparently it's like a metal visor that looks like Tucker's hat with a viewing screen on it that pretty much can show you whatever you want and help change your mood. So they use that on Danny, and they're able to cycle him through anger, sadness, and happiness. And through all this, they're able to fight off. They're able to actually put the kibosh on Vortex until Vortex gets fed up and just blast Danny again. However, the recoil from this causes him to fly into his shop, and Danny was happy. It caused the weather to clear up, which is apparently sunlight hurts Vortex. I don't know, because that's what ultimately weakened him. So when Danny blasts Vortex, oh wait, I remember. Whatever. He got blasted into the shop. So Danny is able to beat him, and unfortunately, from the last blast, Vortex finds that his powers are no longer working for whatever reason. As such, Danny pulls out the Fenton thermos and sucks Vortex in. As such, so the episode ends with Vlad trying to take credit for everything, Danny dropping Vortex off with the observance, and then Tucker making a bad joke that no one laughs at because it was stupid. So I think this up. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I said that, like I said in the beginning. I think this is kind of a dumb episode, and it's mostly because it feels like wasted potential. Vortex, I admit, is kind of an interesting idea for a villain. A ghost that can control the weather and create typhoons with just a flick of his finger. And it feels like he's trying to be a ham, because he speaks loud, like he speaks all loud and amazing and takes breaths in the middle of his sentence. And he's kind of fun to watch, admittedly, but I feel like that there could have been more to him, and admittedly, I like the idea of Vlad being able to control him, which I think would have been cool, which I think is kind of cool, but then, and of course, it going wrong. I like that, and I admittedly do kind of like to a degree that Danny, at least for a little while, got a bit of Vortex's weather powers, which I think is kind of cool. Hold on a second. Sorry about that, dog. Hold on a sec. I think I adjusted this thing when I was... Okay, sorry about that. Again, more behind the scenes stuff, right? Sorry about that. Anyway, as I was saying, I feel like I like the idea of Danny getting. I kind of find it cool. I kind of found it cool that Danny got a bit of Vortex's weather powers, but I'm sorry to say that I think the episode is just kind of dumb. Like, I feel like the idea of Vlad, like, for starters, sorry, I'm gonna put this over here. My phone is. I feel like the idea of Vlad having the idea of Vlad, of course, going after this weather ghost for ultimate power. I think that's kind of cool. That would actually make for a good episode, but his reasons for why he does it are stupid and very petty, especially because it just doesn't. It's just kind of dumb. Vlad only kidnapped this powerful ghost that can literally control the elements just to help improve his poll numbers in Amity Park, which is dumb in every regard, especially since I thought he became the mayor of Amity Park just so that he could screw with Danny. But he doesn't. Again, hold on a second. Sorry about that, my dog again. Hopefully there won't be any more interruptions. But anyway, as I was saying... Sorry, keeping an eye on the door there. I feel like he's going to try clawing at it. Anyway, as I was saying, I still found it dumb that apparently he kidnapped this very powerful ghost and pretty much tortured him into working for him just because he wanted to improve his poll numbers, especially since the job he has he only got because he wanted to screw with Danny. So I don't think that makes a lot of sense in that regard, and again, it feels like a lot more wasted potential because I feel like you could have kept the whole thing going, like maybe Danny... Like, Vlad continually abuses Vortex throughout the whole episode and keeps getting the weather changed. And Danny starts to suspect that something's up. And when he starts investigating, he finds Vortex and realizes that Vlad is controlling him. And then maybe Danny and Vortex could come to blows, which I think would have been cool. But then things go awry But then suddenly the machine gets destroyed and suddenly Vortex starts destroying everything. And so... both Danny and Vlad have to work together again to stop him. I think that would have been a cool idea for an episode. I think that would have been a really interesting idea, especially with a character as powerful as Vortex. But they jumped the gun early on having Vortex be free from Vlad, which I feel like did not help the rest of the episode because it came in the first third. So it didn't make a lot of sense in any regard, or it did not help the pacing for the episode. And on top of that, Vlad is not really... I'm sorry to say, Vlad is even less in character in this one. Like, he's only... Like, he's willing to keep throwing Danny under the bus. And on top of that, he's not willing to recognize that this is his threat. Realizing that when he screws up, instead of doing okay, this is the worst threat, we need to work together here, he instead says, okay, Danny, have fun, bye. Which... I don't know. I know Vlad is petty and kind of a jerk, and a definite villain, but he recognizes larger threats. He may not be willing to acknowledge that it's his fault if he was the one that unleashed it, but he does recognize when there's a bigger threat, or there's a bigger I don't know a proper analogy, when there's a bigger man in the house, I suppose. I don't know. He's willing to acknowledge that, especially with someone as powerful as Vortex. Like, going back to Rainstorm, when he unleashed Pariah Dark, he actually did step in to try and fight back. Danny, and Valerie actually worked together to fight off the Fright Knight and Pariah Dark's forces, and he even saved Danny. Yeah, he stole the Fenton Ecto suit, but he actually did save Danny. But then again, this is Season 3 Vlad we're talking about. The guy who stole a map and jumped around time, and then jumped around time just to make himself look, just to try and make himself look cooler, or the one that possessed several hundreds of voters just because and became mayor of Amity Park just to screw around with Danny. As such, his motivations just kind of feel really dumb, and it does not fit Vlad in any regard. And on top of that, I feel like the pacing, especially with Danny into the weather powers, is really off. Now again, I kind of wish, and admittedly this is just a me thing, I kind of wish that Danny had to keep his powers, because I kind of liked seeing him get those, because part of the whole, and like when Danny first got his ghost powers, he has no idea how to control them. As all his mood has to do is change in the slight. All he has to do is just get a little upset, and suddenly something big can happen. A volcano can fly down the street. He can create a miniature thundercloud, and suddenly things. And the more his mood, and it just gets all. And and I think it would have been cool, like if Danny learned how to master that and use that against Vortex in their final battle. I think that would have been a more heated battle, like battle between these two against these two weather elementals. But then when things continually get heated until Danny loses the powers, and again, so I think that would have been cool. I feel like that was just waste. I feel like that was also a waste of potential too. And I'm sorry to say that. I feel like that they should. That maybe I felt like that could have been what Vlad was doing. Like Vlad said that Sam and Tucker should get Vortex here. In the meantime, he can help Danny try to control the powers. Because, again, that would have actually helped add to... Because, again, I would actually buy that Vlad would do that. Even if he didn't acknowledge that he was the one that screwed up with Vortex, I feel like he would at least want to say, you need to control these powers, because when Vortex comes back, you're going to be our best weapon against him. And while Danny may want to still screw with Vlad, which I would buy completely, and Vlad would still need to keep him somewhat happy if he didn't want him hurting him, I feel like Vlad would still want to help Danny control his powers, if just to save his own ass. I think that would be I think that's what Vlad would do. Instead, they'd like, oh, we got to get rid of them right now, instead of like helping him control them. It feels like a bunch of wasted potential, all thrown in together in this weird hodgepodge of an episode. And as such, I just thought this episode was dumb. Like, again, Vortex had potential to be a good villain. The setup, if it had been given enough time, could have been cool. And I do admit, I like seeing Danny get these new ghost powers. And oh yeah, something I forgot to mention, we actually see Danny working to try and master more of his powers as when Danny first battles Vortex separates itself into 4 clouds, and Danny tries using his cloning ability. And while he still gets his ass kicked, it's still nice that it's cool that Danny is still trying to do that, and he's actually getting better at it. Is able to successfully make 3 other copies of himself. So again, I like that. I actually do like seeing that bit of growth, which is cool. But again, on the whole, I'm sad to say that again, this episode is just dumb. Not that great. I feel like it was wasted potential. I feel like it was just wasted potential. What had the building blocks to probably be an interesting episode, but yeah, on the whole, Torrent of Terror is just a dumb episode. So yeah. That's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you for watching. I'm Samuel Johnson, and I'll see you next week. Take care.